is great. Charting the course of our destiny, hear that? Charting the course of our destiny. So we are here, going forward, repairing ourselves, becoming new men and new women in this time, forging, creating our destiny. Haile, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. We're going to call on the next speaker. And I'm going to call on my beloved brother, Sahid Green. I know today is a day that couldn't miss him, you know, and he's a leader in his own right, one of Antigua, a great man. And he's always been a strength, not only on African Liberation Day, but a strength to throughout to I and I Rastafari. And you know, he's a Rastafari brother. So now watch the face. He's a courageous and brave lion, you know. So to my brother, my beloved brother and leader, give thanks. Sahid Green.
Brother Rasto, Nai Bengui, Freeman, the Big Creek, Nai Bengi, and all the other ones that are here tonight. I want to give all the special shout out to Asagafu, the most courageous of all the ones that have standing struggle. And we all need to know that as he comes into his straightaway, that he needs our support. We need to reach out to him. We need to continue to big him up because he has never lost faith in this struggle. You know, tonight is different because as we gather, the storms of evil, of misdirection has engulfed our youths. The single most important reason for me being here tonight is to stand in solidarity and representation of the youth of this entire Caribbean civilization, and especially the youths inside of Antigua and Barbuda, as we have seen the wanton criticism of our young people and the elders, people like me walking around and blaming them for the misadventures because we have failed to put system in place and to come together in unity as a community. And we feel that the victims should become even more victimized, so we are blaming the youths. We're not looking at the schools. We're not looking at the communities. We're blaming single parents, usually mothers, unemployed and underemployed, young people without direction, and we have the nerves to be blaming them tonight. And so I'm here tonight to make the call that we need to put a program right now and take responsibility for all our children. Not just our biological one, but all the ones. If we want to secure the future of Antigua and Barbuda, we better men, especially you men, stop running from your responsibility and put things in place and take control of our generation that we produce. It is on our watch that our nation is falling apart, and all you want to do is to blame everybody, especially the youth. You have a lot of nerves. And so I'm not here tonight to join in any love celebration of African Liberation Day. It's a commemoration, and it's not a good year for African liberation as far as our youth are concerned. The most antiquated education system in the world is in the Caribbean. from Bahamas, Jamaica up in the north, to Guyana, Suriname in the south. It needs reform. Our children are uninterested in what we are giving them. It's a diet of nonsense. They can't use their hands because you're not teaching them to use their hands, but you're blaming them. All your revisions about education reform is moving the couch from one side of the room to the other. It's still the same old education. And our children are no longer amused by it. Let me give you a real example. So in February, there was a robotic engineer program in this town. And 20 of our students, 21 were asked to register, and it was oversubscribed. We end up with 37. And a young engineer came from California to conduct the course. It was for 8 weeks. And as the numbers climb in the second week, I asked the engineer instructor, what was the ratio of boys to girls? His name is Spence. He comes from SpaceX. He's an engineer with the man that you all proclaim one of the greatest minds in the world, Elon Musk. And in the second week when I asked him what was the ratio, he said to me that there are 37, there was one girl who was in the program but she has dropped out. I want you to hear me correctly. Our boys are interested in head and hand activity. And they built five space systems and one rover vehicle that a young fourth form student from grammar school called the breadboard. Operational, functional, and at the end of the 8 weeks, they took the parachutes, the rockets that they made, and deployed all 5 of them successfly and land them with parachutes safely back to the ground. That's the kind of science we want for boys. And stop this shadowboxing education that has nothing practical about it. Smart, 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 but cannot come to the realization that in smartness is ownership, is management. And so on this African Liberation Night, we have seen everything. Our fathers, BMC, Wolseley, Cartina, Hillman, has all vanished. And the only thing that is parallel to that period is the same education. Like I say, you just move the couch from one side of the room to the other. It's still the same old couch. And it is resulting in our boys not being interested to matriculate. We must call an emergency session to look at why our boys are not interested in the current education system as it's been presented. It's dead degrees on the wall. They're not functional. I am the director of the city of St. John's, and I have the invidious and unenvious position of managing over the dirtiest, smelliest city in the Caribbean, in our civilization. And it can't hurt nobody more than it hurt me, because I am the owner of this town. I stand tonight on the ancestral burial ground. I'm in the holy place. This is our city. This bandstand was purpose-built in 1997, and I had the privilege of being asked to direct this project. And today, our market is on the street, and we have turned the market into a museum. And you all want to blame government and ministers. but we're not taking no responsibility. All we want to do is blame. And inside of that, the most expensive, the prize of our lineage, our young people, are now highly exposed to our inactions. Our summer is coming, and at the end of June, we'll empty out our schools, and our children will be 2.5 months in idle time. And because our group don't have enough financial power, we can organize summer camps so that we can control and have activities for our young people to safely guide them through the summer and bring them back to the first market period of September 2023. That's what African liberation means to me. Means to all of us that are gathered here tonight. Means to parents in the Grace Green community, in Villan Point, in Orville, Johnson's Village, and all the surrounding and the other parishes and Codrington of Barbuda. So what are we going to do? Continue to complain? Are we going to stop passing each other like loaded buses and stop and talk and decide what we're going to do and put in a program together for our young people? And so tonight, I want to deal with the issue of King Court Monument and Park, because we stopped there this afternoon, and it was the most difficult period of my walking through the streets of St. John's. It is in utter disrepair. Our first national hero, look at the state of that place. And we want to blame some other people when we need to come together to form an organization. So here I am as the director of the city of St. John's telling you that we will gather with those who are associated with King Court Monument and Park and put a program together and redesign it so that next year, come African Liberation Day 2024, it will be fully retrofitted and worthy of its prominence in our history. And we'll make it a place of visitation where people will pay an entrance fee. We must do that and save ourselves and stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Stop asking other people to do for us what we must do for ourselves. That's what African Liberation Day means to me. Anything else is shadowboxing. And we need to stop lying to ourselves. Our eyes, our ears, especially our mouth, we lie too much. We're always saying things are there when they're not. Confucius, and he was African, he taught us. The beginning of wisdom is the first learning to call things by its correct name. Start to behave like an owner. Walk like an owner. Cooperate like an owner. And you will get back your city. Stop dropping and littering. Take responsibility. And I want to come to one of the vexing issues of our time. The deed legalization of the Holy Sacrament and those who have used it for other purposes. Our jailhouses are no longer filled with our young people for smoking a spliff of marijuana. But that's not enough. It is also absolutely regrettable and unacceptable that our 12 or early teenagers are on their way to school in the morning with a big head in their mouth, cutting up one in their hands and one behind their ears. The police have to know the difference between a 12-year-old and a 21-year-old. The adults of this community have to know the difference between our baby children and our senior teenagers. We must put some PSA messages on the television and all social media platforms discouraging our young people from smoking at that age. It is a fairer plan to take away. If you want to own a man's place, destroy the boys. And you want me to come here tonight pretending like if the whole story of Africa and Africa want to be free? Well, I'm the 6th region of Africa. And the 5 region of Africa has no chance if the 6th region is slack. And I am of the 6th region. And I'll be damned if I allow this to continue. We must take responsibility. It is our time to demonstrate to our youths that we are worthy of their respect. And stop fussing when they pass us, and the only thing they're paying us is no mind, because they don't see us doing anything, most of us, that energize them and make them feel like if it's worthy of the effort that we're asking them to make. This is the moment. This is no faraway story. This is where the ultimate sacrifice was made by those of us through our ancestors who arrive here. This is ancestral. This is holy grid. It cannot be kept like this anymore. Because I don't have nobody to blame. Because I take responsibility first. You can't fix nothing if you're blaming somebody else. And so that's my message tonight as the Director of City, Urban and Planning in the City of St. John's. I am declaring that while I'm happy that we're here and the outstanding, the Venerable V.C. Bird's bus, we will not run away from him. This is a Goliath. This is a man in whom God himself will say, I'm well pleased. Can the same be said about us in this generation? Where are our leaders? Where are our community leaders? Everybody's asking where the politicians, where the church leaders? Everybody's asking about the other leaders. Where are those of us who are sitting behind television 24/7? Where are those of us who are indulging in fornication and violence movies all day long? Busy, and don't know where your children are. Where's the summer camp that we should be planning for this year for our children? With marijuana already available. And school meal most likely will be shut down. And single parents can hardly afford Saturday and Sunday meal, much more the next 5 days. I am saying that we need to take responsibility for all these things so we can bring our young people into a better place of leadership and ownership, and so they make a claim that we are worthy to be respected, and that the adulation that we claim they should give us will be well founded in our efforts working together. None of us walking around here looking important but doing very little important things can change anything unless we come together. The problem is our disconnectedness from each other. And so tonight, and this African Liberation Day, and this evening, my heart is heavy. And I'm pointing you to the responsibility, especially you African men. Stand up! You mighty men. Marcus Garvey gave us that claim, and we must accept those responsibilities. And in this capital, where we have blood in the land, you must behave with a level of respect that will make your ancestors feel like their sacrifice was worth it. And so on this very important occasion, I call on us to reflect on where we are right now. Stop the blaming and take responsibility so we will save this generation. Stop talking about them, down to them, at them, speak with them, or else we'll be running like wild bulls in the street of St. John's from them if we don't claim them as our children. And so I will leave as I have arrived by saying this is not a night of celebration for me, but one of telling you that we have a destiny and that it is encouraged, and I'm encouraging that we work together, because no one person can journey, and this is a journey, and it is best. The outcomes and achievements are best done when we're working together. To the men and women of Antigua and Barbuda, especially to the sisters who carry the burden of rearing this generation, we salute you tonight, and we thank you for forbearing with us, even when we are not performing the way we need to as men. But again, I look forward to ensuring that next year that the King Court Monument will be ready and in a more pristine state, because that it is not now, so we may be able to celebrate our first national hero the way he deserved to be celebrated. Have yourself a safe and engaging and meditative and contemplative evening as we look forward to the work that we must do to save ourselves and not be dependent on others to do for us what we must do for ourselves. Haile Selassie, Rastafari.
Yes, word, sound, and power. Highly high. Jah. So you hear the man say he's representing, talking on behalf of the city, urban and planning. They're gonna fix up King Court Monument. So next year we're looking to have a great high liberation of African liberation and information on the history of King Court. And it should be grand. You know, can we call in on other entity in Antigua to come and join us as we share the liberation way, you know, we share the liberation love, and we share the liberation movements. So give thanks to Brother Sahid. Highly high. Jah. And as the brother says, stop the blaming. And we blaming the youths and them, you know. The youths and them are going real dirty and stink. And we blaming the youths. Here we say we blaming the youths. But are we to blame the youths? You know? What about the school? What about the parents? What about our leaders within Antigua and Barbuda? Something is wrong. So stop the blaming. Take responsibility. Brother Saeed Green, more love. Highly high. Cheer! Yeah, we're going to call on another stalwart representing the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission. So, you know, this is a brother that's been there for years and years. Even amongst us, always coming and edifying us. And as a leader, kind of forth that torch, that flag, in this struggle, in this fight, you know, in this redemption, in this Pan-Africanism. Another Pan-Africanist, Darben Ahmad, chairman of the Antigua Barbuda Reparations Support Committee. Blessed love. Welcome to brother. Highly high. Cheer. Blessed love.
Brothers and sisters, let me join you all. Let me join you all. Aye, Rastafari. I want to suggest to us that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I want to suggest to us that our focus can be very wide as we advance the movement of African people on the continent and in the diaspora. I want you to join with me in understanding that tonight on this African Liberation Day, that we are commemorating an event of African people that is 60 years old. This is not a new event, and we must be proud that we have joined it and that we are continuing a tradition about liberation. There's a brother who spoke very early in this program who gave us a wonderful history of the evolution of Pan-Africanism, of how the concept of Pan-Africanism is a concept that is born in the Caribbean and not a concept that was born anywhere else. That is our people, with their longing for the continent from which they were kidnapped and from which they were stolen, that it is our people, the Amy Cesares of this world, the George Padmores of this world, reaching up to the Marcus Garveys of this world, who recognize the importance of Africa, the importance of that continent in support of all of us living here in this diaspora. And so when we are talking about a struggle that is 60 years or a commemoration that is 60 years old, we must also understand that over 60 years things change, and that we ourselves must be part of that change, and that we cannot get stuck in the philosophies or in the ideologies or in the times of when the whole concept of African liberation was pronounced back in 1963, that we are now 60 years away, and that our focus must be changing as the times around us change, as the activities of those who oppress us change, that we too have to change in order to counter this. Because the important thing is at that point in time in 1963, when we are talking about African liberation, what were we talking about? Half of the African countries were still colonies. All of us here in this Caribbean were still colonies. South Africa existed, apartheid existed. And as we see the struggle develop, and believe you me, we as a Caribbean people have been central to that struggle. That we have helped, and I'm seeing the statue of Sir B.C. Byrne ahead of me, and we hear his stories of his entrance into Kenya during those Mau Mau struggles and the contributions that he made. We have always been a part of it, and it is important that we continue to play the role. The idea I'm bringing here tonight is that the struggle, the shape of the struggle, the nature of the struggle has changed. And therefore, we must be very, very clear about the way we proceed in this whole concept of liberation. We are not talking liberation now specifically about running from apartheid guns and bombs. This is not what we are talking about. We have a new struggle before us. It's a struggle, and I think Brother Saeed was very, very clear a while ago. It's a struggle because we're not only now talking, as I said, about apartheid, and we're not only talking about an anti-colonial struggle, we're going further than that now. We have dealt with a number of those issues. We must now begin to talk about how we move our present concept of independence into the whole question of becoming a republic. We must begin to think and talk about the ultimate freedom of how we free ourselves from the neo-colonial and from that whole monarchy concept, that king and queen, well, the queen just died, but now the king and the governor general, who are the ultimate powers in our country. This is part of the African liberation struggle now, that we have to talk about those issues. We have to talk about those issues of becoming a republic, of making that break, whether there is monetary or financial benefits or not. We must make that spiritual and that important break from the colonial rule that we have been subjected to for the last 400 years. That is the nature of our liberation struggle today. And importantly, that struggle must now address the issues of reparations. We have to be very, very clear that under international law, that crimes against humanity have been committed against us, that we have been kidnapped, we have been enslaved on plantations, financing for the industrial revolution that developed Europe, and we got nothing out of it. That is our 400 years of labor that has supported that. And the international conventions and all our laws about morality say that that cannot be fair, and that we must claim reparations. We must claim from them under all their own international conventions, that we must claim reparations, that we must press on them that they have a responsibility to assist in the repair of what they have done to African people, what they have done to African countries. And so basically I'm talking about the changing nature of our struggle, that now we are away from the anti-apartheid struggle. We're now talking republicanism. We're now talking a bunch of other issues. We're talking issues about climate change, because we have to understand that it is through our labor that they develop their societies, and it is development of their societies that have affected climate that now turn around and affecting us also. And so we have to be talking about a wider range of issues than just the whole concept of liberation from the guns and bombs of apartheid or colonialism at that point in time. So I'm really calling on us here in terms of our consciousness. Yes, certainly we have internal issues to deal with. We have these youth issues to deal with. But these youth issues and all the other issues that we wanted to talk about, and some of our speakers have addressed them, are as a result of the trauma that we as a people have experienced. We have experienced this from the nature of our governance over the last 100 years, and it's resulting in our own behavior, in our own approaches to life. We come out of societies where violence has been the answer to every single thing that we know. It is the violence of that, 1935, the violence of the hangman, the violence we have in our schools to capital punishment. Is it surprising to us within the system that our youth understand violence as a solution? That is what they were reading. Violence has been a solution for us for all our activities. And clearly our youths are being exposed and understand that whole crazy situation that we have led them to, that violence is some sort of solution. This is African Liberation Day. I want us to really think of ourselves as a part of a whole race of people struggling for liberation at all sorts of levels. some interesting and important things are happening in this Caribbean today that we must be aware of and we must be prepared to join. 2 years ago, our leaders got together with heads of government in Africa and declared September 7th as Africa CARICOM Day. Now, they will make the declarations. They will hardly do anything about it after they have left their wonderful meetings and made their declarations. It is important for us as groups, as individuals, as Rastafari community, as the Reparations Commission, etc., to run with those policy issues that they have made. And just as a bit of a history, last year for the first time, the Reparations Commission invited the schools in this country to celebrate the whole concept of an Africa CARICOM Day in September of this year. All across this region now, there are all sorts of meetings going on here in this region, all sorts of meetings across Africa, where the whole concept of Africa and the diaspora, the connections between us, the return to Africa, the understanding of who we are as a people, that we must challenge the world order, that we must challenge it and say that we are a people, we are a productive people, we are an educated people, we are resilient people, and we will struggle until the concepts of freedom beyond the original concept of liberation are upon us. I thank you so much. Yeah, Rastafari.
Give thanks, give it. Haile! Jah! 1993, 2003, 2013, 2023. 60 years. And a lot has been changed. So we must refine our definition towards the changes and to what we need to change to make the future brighter for us in this liberation struggle. And it continues with I and I. So give thanks, brother Nabin Ahmad, for the words, sound and power. You know, give thanks. Haile! Jah! Yeah, and I go to the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress calling on Priest Kidemi, and then we'll hear from a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So my beloved brother, High Priest Kidemi, you know, real strong brethren, you know, within, when I say Antigua, Barbuda, within the world, within the planet. And it's always a source of strength, of knowledge pouring out of this brother. So without no further delay, I turn it over to the Bauhaus. Kidemi, blessed love.
Give thanks. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Yes, we give thanks, family. Glorify, Salamta, Tenestalin. Shalom to each and every one. We glorify Nego Senegas. We give thanks to the Father and Mother of creation. We give thanks to the power and the might of the Holy Trinity, the eternal and mighty and terrible I am that is with us. Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Well, family, give thanks for the gathering. I try not to be long, but you know, must be strong. We give thanks for the African Liberation Day itself, the 60th anniversary of such a very important day, the 25th day of May. Give thanks for even those who would have gone before I thus far and presented. We're very thankful for the good brother Nabin Ahmad, for his presentation and the fight that he has been given throughout the decades as it relates to even reparation and justice and compensation for even the atrocities of slavery. Give thanks for the good brother Said Green, who has always been an inspiration to I. He knows exactly what I'm talking about in the very, very early stages, even before locks are even a confirmed concept, just out of the blue. I never know brother Said Green, you know. And Said Green found me, and just whatever he saw in me, he started to tutor me and even give me books. And at the time he had a store in town, I think its name was Mpengo, something of the sort, and in Bingo, give thanks, and I would visit him there, and he would definitely give me a lot of inspiration, and still on the battlefield. So give thanks, my brother, as well. You know, give thanks for the masters of ceremony, Honorable Brother Tashai. You know, ancients would call him Setai. Also mighty strength, even in I tradition from them time. Give thanks Coyote Rasto as well for the blessings. Give thanks to the Nyabingi coming in, and just giving the vibes. You know, Papa Bird must be rocking there with the kind of energy that came in here a moment ago. Give thanks for the Nyabingi house, Ras Freeman in the fullness. All loved ones, all ancient ones. You know, just a moment we give thanks to Mama Isel. Give thanks, you know, it's just even today I learned of that Mama Isel would have stepped on. And, you know, coming from a time when Rasta couldn't die, you know, and now it's a list, a long list almost of many ancient ones who would have made a step. Give thanks for all the strength that they would have given to us. Honorable Bagalaga, Excellency King Frangai, King Aikija, King Shaka, you know, Bongo Clark. You know, give thanks for even younger ones that would have stepped off in recent times of Rastafari. Give thanks for Jafleet. Yeah, man. Give thanks to even naturalists, Busha, and all ones who are now in the spirit realms. And of course, reincarnation bring you back in flesh. So give thanks, family, for the moment of sentiments to the ancient ones that are still with us, ancestors, because that's the spirit of a day like today. It's the ancestral spirit. As one man said, we are on a graveyard ground here. You rise the ancestral spirit. Now just quickly, before I even touch upon what I really want to touch upon, you know, because what I want to touch upon is the youths. I am the youth part of it. Now, African Liberation Day, just quickly for the knowledge, this is the 60th anniversary of the ratifying of the Organization of Africa Unity Charter, the 25th day of May 1963. You know, it's very good to have a comprehension of why the day is very important. And it will carry me even to the Battle of Adwa in 1896, when Italy invaded Ethiopia. You know, it's very important to just understand, comprehend the season and the time that, you know, we were in at that time. Because you see, in 1885, they had something known as the Berlin Conference. And this is where the powerful European nations would have gathered around the table and decided how they were going to carve up Africa. You even have pictures of them killers behind a cake like Africa, and they carving out the cake and saying France getting this piece, and Germany getting this piece, and England getting this piece, etc., etc. So after 1885 now, they decided, yeah, so we're going into Africa now, and you're gonna get your piece, I gonna take my piece, and we're going in there with brutality and guns and bombs. Now a lot of people don't realize this, you know. Just check this good. The emancipation of slavery came in 1834 as it relates to the Caribbean islands. Now, for example, the United States, the emancipation of slavery came in the 1860s. The colonializing of Africa, as we know it today, was a process that they call the scramble for Africa that literally began after the emancipation of slavery. So if you don't take your time and study history, you would believe just blank that the white man came into Africa, took some of us out, and then controlled what he wanted to control. It's more than that. After the shackles and chains came off, reparation discussion here, after the shackles and chains came off in the Western world primarily, it was after that the heads of Europe sat down again and said, hey, we're going to do another thing. We're going back in. And this time we're going to destroy kingdoms. We're going to split up nations. Yeah, they banned the slave trade. That's all right. We're going to take over the country. That was how they were thinking. So this is why now, in the 1890s, you only had Ethiopia. Some like to add Liberia, but Liberia is a totally different story to Ethiopia. Liberia was a creature of the United States of America. Ethiopia was unconquered for thousands of years. So in the 1890s now, you actually had all of Africa, every bit, under the grip of them hyenas that were at the Berlin Conference, except Ethiopia. So when now Italy came in, again in 1896, and check the history good, ones have to get this history good. They have a treaty known as the Treaty of Wachali. Wachali is an area in Ethiopia, a province in Ethiopia. And this treaty, it was a real treaty for true. The man was really trying to treat. This is the Italians. And if you understand this story, it shows you the power of the woman. Because at that time, the head of Ethiopia was Emperor Menelik II. And Emperor Menelik II, his empress was Empress Taitu. And the Italians now came with a treaty that was divided into two sides. You had the Italian side, and then you had the Amharic side, which is the Ethiopian side. And the two sides, remember the Italians draft it up, and bring it. The two sides supposed to say the same thing. Diplomatic relationships we're talking about here. But now, one of the clauses on the Ethiopian side, it said that Italy, with permission of Ethiopia, has the right to speak on Ethiopia's behalf to the international community. But on the Italian side, because we Ethiopians can't read Italian, so they thought. But on the Italian side, it said that Italy had exclusive rights to represent Ethiopia in any international forum. So it's colonialism, that, Yeah, man, all men, no offense to the granddaddy, say, yeah, man, it sound good. Empress Titus say, hey, hold on. Take it easy, daddy. Read that again. And she was the one that realized, it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies. She is the one that saw that the Italian version had a little thing in it to sell out Ethiopia. And the Italians didn't like that. That's why they go back and come again for war. It's a couple times the Italians get blows, Let me explain this and all to you. This is why we have to respect our ancient ancestors, They would tell you that the British defeated the Ashanti. How many times do you believe the Ashanti defeated the British before the British get a win? You know how much time them fellas had to go home and come back fighting the Zulus. Several times they just go home and build bigger guns and come again. It's the same thing with Ethiopia. They have a battle called the Battle of Dogali. And the Battle of Dogali is said to be the fastest or quickest battle ever. 5 minutes, hundreds of Italians were killed by Ethiopians. 5 minutes. That's how warriors fight. And that was before the Battle of Adwa. And we all know how the Battle of Adwa ended. So I'm saying now, it was the Battle of Adwa, you know. If you understood international, geopolitics at the time, the Battle of Adwa was like the main inspiration for the Pan-African movement that really began at that time. In fact, the first Pan-African conference, which was either in 1900 or 1901, I know the esteemed scholars here could, ratify that one for me, but it took place in London. And that was coming off of, the energy of the Battle of Adwa. So the whole push now, when Italy invaded again during the time of Haile Selassie I, it was like a rematch thing, man. And they get defeated again. And after the defeat, just observe how Africa just started to gain its independence. You understand? So when in 1963, that they gathered at the Organization of African Unity, it was approximately 31 independent African countries, including the Arab states too, along with Ethiopia to make 32 that were present in Africa Hall in Ethiopia the 25th of May. Hence, what you have today as African Liberation Day. Give thanks as a celebration. See? Now tell me, how more real it can get? You see the ancestral spirits. You know what he said? Not even what he said. When Zimbabwe got independence, right? And Bob Marley and the Wailers were invited. Do you know, I'm sure some of you see the video, that they threw a grenade or some kind of tear gas on the stage while they were singing. And Bob Marley so into his thing. Everybody run off, guitar dropping, ding, 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 ding. And Bob singing. And when Bob realized everybody scattered, you know what he said? Just like what the song say. Now I know who are the true revolutionaries. Yeah, but anyway, let me look the seal up now on a very important point. The item not a story. This is real African liberation talk. No. Not just history, not just it sound nice. Let's deal with reality at home, real time. Leave here with solution. We can't just come give thanks for the spirit by the side green. We can't just come and gather every time and just party and go home, man. I'm tired of that. Serious, I'm very serious. Very, very serious. In the Bible, right? They have a story of Joshua and Caleb. And Moses told the head of the children of Israel, 12 of them, 12 heads, go into the promised land and spy out the land and come back and report. Now, if you read the Bible, good 10 of these elders were really elders. And 2 of them were young people, Joshua and Caleb. And Joshua and Caleb, with the other 10, went into the promised land. And they spy out the land. If you know the history, those of you who read your Bible. And they saw all the beauty of the land. They saw all the fruits of the land. They even pick some of it and they see the rivers and the trees. And they come back and say, boy, Moses, hey, look, I see some guava, right? That that big like my head. I see some this, I see some that. What can big no joke. Beautiful crystal stream, yeah man, but hey, we can't go in there, you know. Hey, what happened? Man, they have some giants in there. And them giants, they're gonna break us up like toothpicks. So you go and talk to your God and tell him, clear the way, just like how we do and split the sea and so, let him take care of that. Now Joshua and Caleb, who are the young youth at the time, stood up and said, no man Moses, don't worry with them old fogey there. We can go in there and take them out in a minute. The man said, no, Moses, let's hush him out. I older than you, eh? I know you when you were a little boy. Yeah, I train you. So old people like that. I train you. Remember me making you older than you know. But the old people were afraid. You see, the young people, they were not afraid, and up to today, they're still not afraid. You see, I can't stay up here forever. I can come off now. But you see our problem? We trying to put a sticking plaster on some stinking sores. Things that need surgery. We going for Vaseline. Rub it down and see if it... Foolishness. I'm very serious, man. It's disgusting. You know why? Because the solution has come to the table many times. We as a society, we love plenty politicking. And it does blind us. Even sometimes when we talk in the truth, we only talk in the truth because for the moment, conveniently, our color dealing with that truth. That's all. It's sick. And the same youths who looking at us with them foolishness there. Them youths brave. You see they're afraid nobody. Joshua and Caleb. But we ain't got nothing to offer them. The last note. Rastafari is a government with the eye. I ain't just talking, and nobody in this yard can say I haven't tried. Rastafari, we are a government. This is not just talk. We have bright minds in here. We can put things on paper and move forward. Oh my, look Papa Bird High Backton. In the middle of St. John's are saying this. We are a government. We're supposed to can, just like how we sing together here, come together, ratify our business plan and take care of this country. Make the world see us feed this country here. We can do it. Make them stop this the marijuana too. Marijuana ain't doing nobody nothing. Hey, the head of psychiatry at the VC Bird, not V Pardon Papa, at the Lester Bird hospital up the road there. She said, an Observer AM, I can't give you the date off my mind, but Darren Matthew Ward was the host. I have it on a record. I even did a program on it, that we have THC receptors in our brain. That alone just locked down the whole thing for me. THC receptor, this is the head of psychiatry in Antigua. She said that we as human beings have THC receptors in our brain. That means inside your brain, you have receptors. That means to receive something inside your brain designed to take THC when it come in. How THC get in your brain? So I tried this to her. But anyway, we have many great speakers to come. All I'm saying, Rastafari, we never give out the whole plan here. We are not just talkers, we are doers. The time is on us. We need to come together and move the government and make the island and the nation and the world see, yeah man, them Dudley Rasta serious. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie. Selassie. Kidemi, please Kidemi the high priest. Blessed Lord for the strength, the word, sound and power.
You know, Rastafari is truly a government in its right. And we're calling on the people to stand up. You know, when it comes to Rastafari and being a government, and being an organization, and movement that are Rastas, we say, okay, this not happen, why this? And majority of the people that say that are people that can make it happen if they come in and bring that united force and that togetherness. You know? So we await. As Africa awaits its creators, we await the handful that will do the work. To bring the strength to those who are doing the work. Give thanks, Priest Kidemi. Blessed love. We have other speakers. We're going to call on Selassie from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Selassie, which means mercy of the Trinity. Mercy.
Good night, good night, good night. Yes, I come to represent the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So on behalf of our priest, Archimandrite Abba Gabriel Jesus, you know, he sends his blessing among the gatherings. And as an Orthodox member, you know, we are very proud to have the opportunity to come and speak to our brothers and sisters. Now, coming behind the priest is not easy. You get a lot of information about Ethiopia, you know, about our kings, rulers, the destruction, and even the strength, right? But let me tell you, one thing is missing, is love between our brothers and sisters.
Rastafari!
Yes, love. Without love, we're going to always be in this situation. A lack of love for God leads to a lack of love for one another. The further we get away from the Word of God, is the further we get away from love for one another. And that brings all kind of problems within our lives. So that is our message, unity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church, that means unity, sent here by His Imperial Majesty to bring the African people them together. So, on behalf of the priest, you know, he sends an invitation to each and every one, you know, that we all come together. You know, we're trying to come together with all the bingy houses, you know, all the Rastafarian people, because we know His Imperial Majesty sent it here for us. We were the one there turned out for Him, and because of the love that He saw that we was given to Him, you know, He was moved, and so the church was sent here. You know, I'm not going to go into the history too much about it, but you know, the church go way back into the Bible. You know, our favorite quote is from the eunuch who had received baptism on the road from Gaza, or the road to Gaza, coming from Jerusalem. You know, it's a long time Ethiopians have been looking up to God, and as the priest said, never conquered. And that is because of one reason: they never leave God. They never leave God up to this day. That green, gold, and red, that we like to say, it's gold and green, that was a promise the Lord made to Noah, that He would never destroy the world by water again. So every time we see that rainbow, we remember the Father and His promise, because He so loved the mankind. So that is our message today or tonight. You know, it's just calling each and every one together to show love for one another, because in unity is strength. And when you have strength, you can't be conquered. when you have unity, you can't be conquered. That's why they try to divide us first, brothers and sisters. Divide you first. If a one going to attack you, he going to wait till you're by yourself. And then he try to attack you. In a group, he wouldn't attack you unless he have a group too. Let us stay together and we can conquer all things. Selassie.
Haile. Brother Selassie from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Haile. And in all that we have to do, you know, the body is saying love. You know, that's the element, that's the essence of keeping the fabric together. You know, keeping us wholesome. Love. And you know, love is God. Love is the Almighty. You know, love is the universal spirit. So, love my brother and remember the Almighty. Give thanks to Haile Selassie. Haile! Cha! Rastafari. We have all the speakers. We should have the elite dancers. Nobody think that no light on the stage. We have the flashlight, the solar light, and they can dance in the middle and we fling the light there. Now we're going to call another speaker from the Big Nyabengi house. Brother, the high priest, Brother Stila, to give us some words of strength on this occasion. Stila, high priest Selassie. Haile! Jah Rastafari, praises.
Haile. 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 Glory to words, glory to sound, and glory to the holy Iwets of the Most High, King Selassie. Ababa Janai Abashanti I, Kidamawi I. No goose, no gas, more embessa, you order. And I hail her Royal Highness, Wazira Asfa Woleti Georges. And I hear that cosmology of that feminine and masculine life principle, known to the Orient as the yin-yang, within science as the centrifugal and the centripetal elements of creation. The I who is and who was and who shall be, the only omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, infallibly immortal King of Kings, and I own divine majesty. And I do give thanks and praise for life, and I give thanks and praise for health and strength, wise mind, knowledge and understanding. And I ask thee to just guide and watch over, and I keep, and I sanctify, and cause thy holy countenance to shine upon I, that I may be free from all the ways of the wicked, both now and forever, and ever and ever. I say greetings to all sons and daughters of Ethiopia, Africa, princes and princesses, kings and queens, prophets and priests, warriors and saints, family of black supremacy, Nyabingi theocracy reign, government of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Selassie I. And I say greetings on this most historic and monumentous day, African Liberation Day. As I reverence and remember African Liberation Day, so I remember Ethiopian Liberation Day, which is May 5th, which is the bedrock, the progenitor of African Liberation Day, Ethiopian Liberation Day. For I know that Ethiopia never been conquered by no outside forces, holding its independence for 3,000 years uninterrupted. So I do give thanks to Ethiopia, because His Majesty said, as far as colonialism is concerned, Ethiopia stand clear. Ethiopia is committed to defend the rights of the oppressed.
And Ethiopia know that racial discrimination means the negation of I and I personality and I and I identity as African people. For I and I, brethren, just chant about the Battle of Adwa when Menelik defeated the Italian forces. And I say Ethiopia was a symbol of hope, a symbol of free man for arousing the slumbering giants of Africa, even into independence and being a free man. So I give thanks and praise for Ethiopia. So that's why it's so significant. Even His Majesty, who defeated the Italians, knowing that it was prophetical and real, that the Lion of the tribe of Judah shall break all chains, all colonialism, all imperialism, all elitism and all strata. Haile, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. So I and I do give thanks that the heads of states of these sovereign African nation gathered in Ethiopia, Africa. And as the brethren just utter about the Berlin Conference, when Von Otto Bismarck of Germany convened such a conference to divide and part of Africa among themselves. For the Europeans said, we're not going to make what happened to we in the Americas and in the Caribbean, where we looted and murdered and killed each other to occupy these colonial places. We're going to gather and part of Africa ourselves, for ourselves. So the period of colonialism in which we were plunged culminated with our continent, Ethiopia, Africa, fettered and bound, and our once free and proud people reduced to slavery and humiliations. African terrains were cross-hacked and checkerboarded by artificial and arbitrary borderline. Many were sold into slavery, and those who escaped conquest did so at the cost of a dreadful resistance. Others were sold at the price which the colonialists extended for the possession in which they deposed. Africans were chattel to be purchased bodily. I and I were the best people to be reduced to lackeyhood and vassalage. Africa was the source in which all the raw materials were fed into their factories. For during that period and era, we saw a massive transfer of human, animal, and natural resources to build the citadels of modern Europe and the European powers that even build them into a world power that they could even control and dominate all the other nations of the earth. I say the Organization of African Unity was established in 1963 and was established to protect in better fashion the independence of those emerging African states and to expedite upon the social and the economical field and to maintain international peace and security. For Emperor Selassie, I said difference of race, of tradition, of culture is no insurmountable obstacle for I and I to come together. And that's why these heads of states of Africa gather in Addis Ababa to charter the destiny of I and I nation. For at that time, Africa was from the Africa of yesterday to the Africa of tomorrow. And as His Majesty said, let us leave our imprints on events as they pass into history. For that awareness of our past is most essential to the establishment of our personality and our identity as black people. And there are those who claim that I and I unity is impossible, that the forces that pull some in that direction and others in the other is too strong to overcome. Around us there is no lack of doubt, no absence of critics and criticism. They all speak of I and I role in this time in a sepulchral tone. That's what His Majesty said. And His Majesty said, let us reward, let us dispose them in confusion. Let us, because we are those who are spurred on by the example of our founding fathers, whose hope for Africa is bright, to the creation of a new and happier life, which is Rastafari. So the big question is, today, African liberation. What do we seek for Africa? Yeah, what do we seek? I seek to consolidate and to improve and guarantee that precious liberty and liberation. I seek total freedom, freedom from all dependency. And I seek the betterment and the way of life of Africans and all man everywhere. For today, I see what I want.